at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
Hi, you're listening to WSU 1450. I'm your host today, John, with my co-host, Mr. Frank.
Hey, how you doing? It's good to see you back in the big C once again.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Nono and Alexis have theater practice for today for their upcoming play.
They're going to be busy for the next couple months, so I'm told.
Really?
Yeah. So, but they might come in from time to time, kind of zip in on their private jet or something.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So how cool is that? There are, up and coming actresses in this big play. And so got that going on over at South Fork. And then I guess we should tell our listeners about who you are and what you and Alexis and everybody's doing, Nono, what they do and what all you do and what you're part of and all that.
Well, we're all a part of South Fork High School. Me, Alexis, and Nono are part of Yiga Youth Run and Youth Led program, which has a legislative, executive, and judicial branch. I'm personally part of legislative. Alexis is part of Ledge, and Nono is part of judicial. It's pretty fun, actually.
Yeah.
We write bills. We do mock trial cases. We do pretty much all the above in our actual government.
Kind of neat. And then once a year, you guys get to go to Tallahassee, too.
I'm not sure how that's going to work this year. I think we might be going. I'm not sure.
Did that get canceled last year?
I think it might have actually, yeah.
How sad is that? That is like a big deal. And this is about the time of year. I think it's like around Easter, around springtime or so. Yeah. So they generally send a few buses loaded with youth and government students up to Tallahassee, and you get to do your legislative duties in chambers. In the authentic chambers, right? And you have your 30-second elevator speeches that you memorize for the various bills that you're trying to get passed, right? Yep. They're very cool stuff. I like all that stuff. So that's great. Hopefully throughout the course of this school year, maybe we can learn about some of the bills that are going to be floated, and how the lobbying process goes to get those bills looked at. And it's quite a it's not a slam dunk. I mean, it's quite a process to get the bills looked at, approved, go through the whole process to even get voted on.
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, kind of getting into it, the first little segment I want to cover is about like 2 FBI agents have been killed in a shootout that took place this Thursday.
Yeah.
Wait, Tuesday. I'm sorry. The FBI agents in question were Daniel Hoffman and Lauren Schweichenberg. The result was because of a raid they conducted by themselves along with 3 other FBI agents on a warrant, which hasn't been specified in deal. It was like, it has been told that it's relating to like crimes against children. It was
child trafficking of some sort, I think is what I understood that. So they were serving a warrant, and apparently this character inside the dwelling was watching them on a video cam from the doorbell. So they knew that they were approaching, and then shot him through the door with a shotgun.
I did not hear that part, actually. Yeah. I heard he barricaded himself in also.
Right, and then shot himself later or something. But yeah, so very, very, very sad.
Well, next up, as of yesterday, this one is a bit questionable in my opinion.
Okay.
So a car holding COVID-19 vaccines was stolen near Plant City.
Okay. That's where they grow the beautiful strawberries that we can eat.
It was actually near there, actually. It was like near the Strawberry Festival grounds.
Okay.
So
all right.
So the car was holding some 30 vials of the vaccine. It would be around 500 or more doses. The culprit in question is a man who was wearing a light sweater. He has long hair. He hasn't been found yet, though. It's interesting. There's actually a video of him. He's unmasked, but I think one of the reasons why they haven't found him yet is because of the poor video quality almost. It's
they'll probably have to run it through a few filters and face recognition software. The Chinese are doing an outstanding job on that stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah. They when people come and go, I don't know how it is with the face mask now, but prior to the COVID, their software ability to track people throughout the country was pretty amazing. That they were able to track everybody's whereabouts, and they got camera. Of course, cameras are located everywhere, even in the UK. They have a lot of video cameras too, but not so much for tracking specific individuals, but as much as with the face, because facial recognition software, they've really taken it to a whole new level there in China.
I heard a little bit about that, but I didn't know it actually went that far.
Yeah. Well, to the point where, I mean, they match it with your cell phone, so they pretty much know who you are, and I've heard a story about somebody who was actually jaywalking and didn't think anything of it, and it gets a ding on his phone, and he checks his phone, and one of the surveillance cameras caught him jaywalking, and they had, there's like this, I forget what the currency is, but they dinged him a certain amount of money from his bank account automatically. It's like, oh, we caught you jaywalking, it's going to cost you, and have a nice day. And that was it.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So no jaywalking in China. It will cost you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so next up is Mr. Biden is kind of in the process of procuring a plan on the war on Yemen. To give some background on it, the war in Yemen started in about 2014-ish with the Houthi rebellion.
Yeah, the Houthis, yes.
And they were bombed by Saudi Arabia, along with some other Arab states. The US, us in particular, backed them, along with the UK and France. And then ever since, it started to escalate more and more. I believe Mr. Biden is trying to increase the amount of refugees we take from there. And he's also planning to try to withdraw most of our troops, and I think almost all of them, from the war over there also.
Interesting.
Now, I don't know very much about the history of Yemen. Do you, Mr. Frank?
No, just what I was reading today, and pretty much just what you were saying, that the Saudis have been, having this skirmish with the Houthi rebels, and I think the United States were backing the Saudis, and beyond that, I don't know that much about the Houthi rebels, what they represent, and who support. I think Iran supports them, so that could be the crux. That's probably why we were supporting Saudi Arabia, because Iran just don't need it, their proxy fingers getting into all the other levels of governance from other countries either. So anyways, so that's been their MO.
Okay. Is there anything?
That's as much as I know about it.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to cover right now, Mr. Frank?
Well, if I can find it, I had this video. Oh yeah, there it is. Let's see if I can.
Okay.
Let's see if I can pull this up. This was an interview of John Kerry back in 2019, and he was on his way. He had was on his private jet to collect an award for his work. Wouldn't you know, there's a commercial here. So he was on his way to collect an award for his work with climate change, and so of course the first thing you do when you want to save the planet is you jump into a gas guzzling jet that spews more pollution than many households can do in an entire year. He can do in just one clean day. So it was pretty amazing. So here he is here.
Is that an environmental way to travel?
If you offset your carbon, it's the only choice for somebody like me who is traveling the world to win this battle. I negotiated the Paris Accords for the United States. I've been involved in this fight for years. I negotiated with President Xi to bring President Xi to the table so we could get Paris. And I believe the time it takes me to get somewhere, I can't sail across the ocean. I have to fly to meet with people and get things done. But what I'm doing almost full time is working to win the battle of climate change. And in the end, if I offset and contribute my life to do this, I'm not going to be put on the defensive.
Right. And he gets to sip champagne in his private jet while he's doing it all at the same time. Congratulations to John Kerry. So very good. All right. So anyways, that Fox News was having a lot of fun with that little clip. Somebody went back in the archives and found that piece of information. So yeah, it's kind of neat. Anyways, so that so your thoughts on that?
I do agree to a certain extent, but I didn't really agree with trying to offset it with things such as like saying I did this or that.
Yeah. So yeah, the good work I do is makes it justifies me, flying in my private jet. The thing is, they have commercial airplanes that go to those same destinations. So he could, for because those planes are flying anyways. They're already spewing their carbon footprint, right? Adding another passenger is not going to change things. But putting another jet in the air, that does change things. If you're a big believer in greenhouse gases and that sort of thing. So anyways, that's my take on it. I think it's the whole reason why it was brought up was because it's pointedly, hypocritical. So, and nobody does hypocrisy better than John Kerry. So it works out pretty well. Anyways. Okay.
Well, what are your thoughts on like spinning things? Because like for me, I personally can barely sit watching the news because it's like no matter where you go, there's going to be a spin on something.
Yes. So so you get to be pretty good of noticing the spin, and because you're a sharp guy, so you see the spin, and it's okay to take the information, observe it, and then you get the counterpoint information, and you can ferret out. It's somewhere in the middle is the real truth, But yeah, that's and you kind of look at everything that you're told with a jaundiced eye, I think, and you have to realize that there is going to be, everybody has their own perspective, and their perspective is going to pitch or suit their case more than somebody else's, and so you just have to understand who are these people, what is their interest, if any. Is it unbiased? Is it biased? If, do they get money for, some people are paid, analysts. And so their spin is going to be pretty obvious. So anyways, it's just kind of, you just have to look at it from all those different ways, and then you can form your own opinion.
Okay. Personally, I felt like it's been getting like stronger and stronger, and it's been harder to actually find anything from it except the headline or anything about
Well,
that.
the headlines are, what they call clickbait.
Yeah, they're
right?
clickbait. Yeah,
Right.
I understand that much.
Right.
But you have the headline, you
Right.
talk about it for 1 second, then I feel like it goes into
Right.
bias
The
almost
right.
entirety to the point where it's almost
Right. So you see the headline, which is the clickbait. You go and say, okay, I want to see what this is. And then you get, third, fourth, fifth column down, paragraph down rather, they finally answer what that clickbait is all about, and it's maybe
It's questionable.
It is very questionable, and yeah, and they give you they try to give you the backstory so you understand the context of what they're trying to pitch. So, but it's, I don't know. Everybody's got their own bias, but I noticed back in in the early 70s, really, I used to get periodicals, actual magazines like Time, Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report. I used to read those, and I would read the news articles, and the news articles were starting to sound more like editorials. So I remember specifically starting reading this one news article, and I flipped to the back of the magazine. I go, no, here's the editorial page. And I went back to the beginning of the magazine, and there's this. It's written. It was a bold-faced editorial. It was not a news piece.
Mm.
And I go, oh. So they've turned to the dark side, and it was obvious to me back in the 70s when I was pretty close to your age that there was something going on, and it wasn't good, in the media, because they had their own agenda, their own bias, and it was becoming pretty obvious. I didn't know, for example, there was a news guy back then by the name of Walter Cronkite,
Mm-hmm.
who was a very famous news anchor for CBS. I didn't know he was liberal. I didn't care. I didn't know. He just gave you the straight news. And he really worked hard to make sure his notions, his own biases didn't get plugged into the news. You just got the unvarnished, this is what happened today. These are the people involved. This is, these are the facts. And then you took away whatever you could from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to. Now they've got people who give you the hard news. And then they got a team of people behind it and say, you're not smart enough to know what this person said, so we're going to explain it to you. And then they spin it to give the explanation that they feel suits their notions. And so I don't like it. I don't know if you can tell.
I can tell.
Yeah. So anyways, but that's where I'm coming from. I mean, I saw that early on that it wasn't clean news, anymore. So, and I miss that, just give me the facts. I'm old enough to figure it out. It's okay. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, you really don't need a team of people to tell you what just happened. You see it, you hear it. You can make your own conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, there we are on biases and spin.
That is very true.
Mm-hmm. All right, what else we got going on? Yeah, Senator Rubio on Biden policy towards China. U.S. has committed to defend Taiwan. So President Biden announced Thursday that the U.S. will end its support for the. That's another topic. That's about the Saudi-led offensive operations in Yemen against the Houthi rebels. We talked about that already. Looks like there's some bipartisan support for the administration commitment to defend Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing. It looks like they're adopting or carrying over the Trump policy. It seems that way.
How do you feel about that situation, though?
About Taiwan?
Yeah.
Well, do you know the history about how Taiwan even came to be?
Are we going from like the beginning of the world till then?
Yeah, I mean, from World War II forward, you know, to the rise of the Mao government in China.
Main of it was China basically had a little crisis in their government. They separated into two, which
Right.
they basically wanted to rule from Taiwan. So they basically moved everything from China over there.
Right.
And they were like, we're going to basically
This
rule
is
from
the
here.
ruling Chinese government left China because of Mao and the Communist Party takeover of China.
And
Basically.
then Taiwan eventually evolved into more self-governed.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about that? Do you think it's
I
China or do you think it's Taiwan by
well,
itself?
So my wife seems to feel that Taiwan is China. So I feel as though Taiwan is developed into its own separate entity, and they have their own culture now, even though they speak the same language. They have their own culture and they have their own belief system. I think I look at Taiwan and China like I look at Canada and the U.S. We're neighbors and we have similar cultural similarities, but we're different. We're different countries.
I'm guessing same notion about Beijing, or no?
Well, I don't think the people in Taiwan
Beijing.
really don't like the folks in Beijing.
No, I mean just governance-wise.
Yeah, I don't think they want to adopt the Beijing model of governance because I think they're a little more free market in their thinking. So I think I don't think they're, you know, well, look what, and they're very afraid of what happened in Hong Kong is going to happen in Taiwan. And that'll only embolden mainland China for the South China Seas, and that's where the U.S. really is concerned. They're concerned about Taiwan, but their genuine concern has to do with navigation, the shipping lanes, freedom of travel through the shipping lanes. That's where the U.S. That's why we send our carrier fleet through there. I believe is that's really the bigger overarching, thing.
Okay.
Freedom of travel. So there's going to be a lot of countries that have their own vessels that are going to be going through there, doing commerce with a variety of countries, right, including China, and they don't need to be interdicted in sea and saying, "Oh, you're in our territorial waters" and that sort of thing. No. So I think that's where the Trump administration really drew the line in the sand. And I think pretty effectively, they definitely got Beijing's attention because, I mean, they were creating islands
to expand
their claim of
international water.
Yeah. Yep. So not good. And it's kind of a cheat, right? So
I haven't heard much about that though.
No, you haven't. But they did. They successfully not only created these islands, but they put airstrips on these islands. Oh yeah.
I heard about them, but I haven't heard about them in recent times.
Yeah.
Did they? I believe they.
You probably got to work
stopped,
for the NSA to really know more about it. You probably, probably a couple of years from now you can get read in. Who knows? And you'll know more about it. It depends upon the level of work you want to do, right? Yeah. That would be a fascinating field of work, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. I got a guy. I know a guy who he does work for special agencies within the government where they glean information from satellites and other sources, and they have a pretty good pulse of what's going on, and then they write up reports and send it to the White House and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Be a fun job.
It would be an awesome job. Yeah. It's like being a cyber James Bond, right? Shaken, not stirred. So anyways, speaking of which, we got to stir up a little trouble here with our commercial break. So let's do that. And we'll be right back.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is WSTU 1450, Martin County's Heritage Station. Our phone number is 220-WSTO and 220-9788.
Right. And we've got a new phone, so I have to tell our listeners our old phone, our original phone set actually rang, which is kind of good for an old guy like me because you hear a ring, okay, there must be a phone ringing, and then you pick it up. But now, because this is we're a professional studio, we actually have a studio phone that only has a blinking light. So I have to keep checking the phone set. So I might miss the phone set if you ring in. It's not that we're ignoring you. It's just I don't see the green blinking light. So call, if you've called, call back. I apologize for that, but if we don't take your call, that's the only reason why. It's because, oops, I'm busy talking to John and I might miss your call. So do call again.
Okay.
By way of explanation, we don't want to leave anybody out, and everybody's got their own thoughts. So,
Okay. First up,
Yes.
a year into the pandemic, how do you feel about the schooling system
the school system
and
with-
everything in general? I
with
mean,
the pandemic,
everything in general. It's been pretty much a year.
I'm totally over it. I just can't wait to I've been trying to get the vaccine, and because I qualify, and but it's a goat rodeo trying to so you have to sign up through a couple different websites. Through Martin Health recommends that you go through the hospital here, right? So okay, so you get into this whole thing, and then you have to you set up an account, and so you keep checking the account, and we don't have any vaccine available, but keep checking, and then Wednesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. if you got nothing to do at 6 a.m, you go on the computer and you check Publix, their COVID vaccines that they do through the Publix pharmacies. And that is same situation. They have a screen that you get to stare at for about an hour and a half, and you can't leave the screen, because if you do, you get out of the line. They call it the queue. That was our friend. That phrase, by the way, the queue, that comes from our English friends across the pond. We used to use the word line, but now we call it the queue. So anyways, so you get kicked out of the queue if you refresh your browser. You don't want to do that. So it automatically refreshes every minute, and if you're lucky, it'll kick into a page with instructions about what to do to sign up. I never got to that page for an hour and a half, and then what happens during one of about an hour and a half later, they'll say, well, all the vaccines have been distributed, but check again next time. Thank you for playing. Words to that effect. But it's like, really? Come on, we can do better than this. So I don't know. I understand that CVS and Walgreens are getting involved. They've been involved, but they've been doing the nursing homes and the staffing and all of that. So I guess they're pretty well caught up there, and now they're going to be available. But again, you have to set up appointments with them. So for example, if I was successful Wednesday morning for to get an appointment for the vaccine, then my appointment would have been scheduled for Thursday, today. So if I get on tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and if I'm successful, then sometime on Saturday I get to, if I'm lucky, I get to get the vaccine. So, but it's just a whole cumbersome exercise. And the fact that they're telling people that if you're 65 and older, the only way you can do this is through a computer. Well, maybe there's a lot of 65 and older folks that aren't that computer savvy and really don't want to bother with such a device too. It's like,
Mhm.
if you want to talk to me, call me up. you want to give me some information, send me a letter. You know what I mean? Most people are kind of like that, and that's okay. That's the generation they grew up in.
Mhm.
And I think employ trying to get my generation and older, baby boomers and such, trying to get us to sign on to 21st century technology, when just put me on a list and give me a call. I don't understand that it should not be that complicated. They know I'm here. They got my phone number. Give me a call. It's not that hard. I don't know. It seems to be there's just too many hoops.
Maybe a lottery system is what
I-
they're trying to do,
No,
but
well,
still,
right
even
now
then,
they
it's
say
a
it's
bit.
it's just I don't know. But then I don't know. I'm just totally over it, and because the whole notion about all of this, and there's you have to employ good hygienic practices, and that's just kind of a good clarion call for all of us to wash your hands. These are all the things that they told you when you were just little Johnny, right? You probably had a little step stool you had to stand on to get to the sink to wash your hands, and it's part of the part of the training, part of the learning process. And those skills should never leave us,
Mhm.
and that's good. I mean, they would kind of revisit those skills that, okay, but after a while, it's like, come on, and I guess I really fret more about the businesses that have been lost
Mm.
and will continue to be lost through this, because businesses are the biggest driver of employment for not only self-employed people, but all the families that they represent, that they employ. And when they're no longer in business, what do you do? And the whole wave a wand or magic hand that somebody's going to just magically, get another job. Maybe the job they lost was their perfect job.
Mm.
They didn't want to do anything else, and it wasn't their fault that they lost their job. So it's really troubling. I just hope that there's some sort of normalcy comes out of this. But they tell us that even with total, a very well executed vaccination campaign, we're still going to be wrestling with this for years. And I think 1 year out, I'm already pretty much over it.
Mm.
Just shoot me now. I'm done. Anyways, but yeah, so they asked me my opinion. That's it.
Mm.
Yeah. So after a whole year of dealing with this, and you had to do distance learning in school for a while, that was probably no fun.
Yeah, it is enough.
Right? So talk about that. We've got, well, I tell you what, let's talk about that when we come back, because we got our last break, and then we're going to talk about what it's like to be a student and do distant learning.
Okay.
All right. Stick with us.
Hey, welcome back to WSTU 1450, Marin County's Heritage Station. Our number is 220-9788 and WTSTU 1997. Wait,
1450.
9788.
Yes. 1450
Ah.
WSTU 220-9788.
Please.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Great. Break out your Crayolas and 220-9788. And if you're calling from out of town, it's 772 area code.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people listening from all over the planet. You never know where you're going to get a call.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. We had people tuning in from the Carolinas last night for yesterday's show, which is
Really?
kind of neat. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, people listen from all over.
Mm.
So that's kind of nice. You can grab today's show, for example, and then you can add it to your Facebook page, and then you can send it off to your family and friends. They can see what all you're doing. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool.
It is cool. This modern technology. Those are the nice things I didn't have when I was in school. I mean, I was the AV guy in school, so when they had like a movie, they would sign up for a movie and they had to get a projector.
Mm.
So, the projector would come on a cart and we'd wheel the cart into the classroom and I'd thread the film into the projector. And there's this very special science to the how you load the film in. You just don't, it's not like a cassette, right? It's just loose film. And there's a reel, and it goes through the sprocket, and you have to have a loop in it, and it goes down through in front of the lens, and then it goes to the pickup wheel, it has to be threaded in just right. Otherwise, it gets ugly. So I did that. I was the AV guy.
Mm.
Did morning announcements in high school on the PA.
Mm. It's interesting.
Yeah, I had fun with that. So I've always had the radio bug that way. Always some sort of media, stuff. And school was a great way for me to exercise those passions. They kind of let you, give you the freedom to do stuff, which is wonderful. And when you're doing distance learning, John, how's that for a segue?
That was a good segue.
Right? And when you're doing distance learning, you don't have the freedom to do stuff in school.
Mm. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, I'm part of YIG. We have like online meetings now. It's gotten a little bit less fun, in my opinion. Just like any club you're in, I feel like it's gotten less and less fun.
Right.
Just like we used to have like meetings in the library like every Wednesday-ish. It was like very
Raucous.
community based almost.
Yeah.
And now it's more like hop on Zoom, slide presentation, do a game sometimes. Like, I love those,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, it's more promising like in person. Just like
Sure.
you get all that
It's the
energy from everybody, and it's just
Human
like
interaction. Yeah, exactly. You miss that because there's something when you go from 3D to 2D, something gets lost, right? Yeah.
Like
And
some
body
things are
language. I mean,
gained too,
there's
but
so many things that we read much more than audio and visual signals of just people.
Mhm.
We read the body language. It's a very complex language, and children, before they even are able to speak, have already started to master some of those skills of body language. Parents are scratching their heads, trying to study the youngsters and trying to figure out, what are they saying? What do they want? What do they mean? So, I mean, it's a process, so that starts right from the very beginning.
I do agree. Just like things that personally for me, like I'm fairly decent in my studies, but even then it's a bit hard to keep up with the teachers sometimes, because like sometimes you have like multiple stuff that you can't control, like the mic shuts off. That's happened a couple times. Or it just like starts to kind of like glitch out, and then nobody can actually hear, or like sometimes.
Yeah. So there's no information is being
Mhm.
shared. Yeah. That's not good.
It was it's fairly different, and then you can't have the teacher come up behind you or something and you can't like ask a question, just like, what does this mean? Like you can, but it's not as effective.
Right.
And you don't have like that.
Yeah, you can't take the teacher aside and say, "Hey, listen, I had this question on this problem, this math problem I'm working on." You gotta, you gotta
Yeah.
voice it in front of 35 other people.
Like I don't
Yeah.
mind that as much, but it's still just it's a bit.
Hmm.
Other things I sort of miss are kind of just like subtle rivalry almost, like with students, because like if you're behind a screen, you don't feel their presence,
Right.
if that makes sense. Like I'm
Sure.
here with you, but if there was like a computer screen between us, there's going to be some things that are lost, some things are gained. Like
Oh, right.
I feel like people are more free behind a screen
Mhm.
because like you're there, but you don't really have any physical. You're not physically there, so you don't have any. You can't get any ramifications almost instantly, or just like, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it's all about being present, in the moment, and you are when you're doing that, and they call it distance learning for a reason.
Mhm.
You are truly distant from the connecting source, and there's like a missing link there. Yeah.
I feel like it's almost like trying to touch code with your hand. Like
Mhm.
something can be behind the code, just like a program or something like Google or something. You can't touch it, but it's there.
Mhm.
Like its presence there, but it's not in the same presence as you.
Right. It's a different plane of reality.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of people that seem to think that they're floating the notion that our reality is nothing more than a simulation in somebody's game. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I've certainly thought about it too.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that in the couple minutes we have left? I mean, that is a really deep thought,
That is a deep thought.
right?
How would you feel about that though? Because
If I was just
if you're just like some character in a game, just
yeah. Well, everything that I knew to be true and real
would be false.
yeah, that would be disappointing, let's just say. Yeah. Yeah, that part would be disappointing. Although the good news is that if it was just if I'm just an X's and O's or ones and zeros, right? Then theoretically I could, you could with digital, you can push the pointer anywhere you want to be in the timeline, and you can go back and fix stuff. So that would be kind of good. There's some stuff that I'd like to know what I know now to go back and revisit.
But if it's like that, that would be a bit chaotic. I would almost.
Oh God, it would be.
That would be very chaotic.
I would
but
say
then-
so.
Okay, just if we're going into kind of more like philosophical,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about other beings?
Other
just,
beings,
just other people in general, because you
from
don't know
other
what's-
worlds. You mean?
No, it's not an isekai. So kind of if we're going on the spin of it that everything's digital,
Mm-hmm.
what would that make you?
Just not real.
So would you just not be real, or would you just be you in general, if that makes sense? Because you can only trust in yourself.
Right.
You can't trust in another that way then.
Yeah.
So would you believe them to be real or fake?
I don't know. That's a very deep philosophical question. I don't know. You have to just kind of grab onto whatever you feel your reality is, and then that is real to you. And I think you got to run with that. So, yeah. I think so. What are you thinking? I see your eyes blinking back and forth, switching from side to side.
Well,
So I know when you're trying to collect your thoughts, when you're trying to retrieve something from memory, you look with your eyes to your right. All right. That means you're trying to retrieve a memory or a thought.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Okay. Death. Okay, just if we're going down this road,
Yeah,
we might as
all
well just complete it. Okay.
Yeah, right. Go.
Life and death. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that? Because you go through the stages of life, then you meet, like you eventually meet your demise. And
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Well,
Just-
if you're religious, you feel like, okay, this is just one plane of existence, and I'm moving on to a different. And that part is okay. I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
You know, I think the notion of just ceasing to exist and just, like end program, done, go to black. That part is not a good thought. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, I think that it'd be yeah, I don't know. I'd like the notion of of an afterlife in that spiritual life. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah. I
Hmm.
think that's okay. And there's no downside. There's the best part. There's no downside to that belief system. Absolutely zero. So if there is a God and you believe in God, great, thumbs up. If not, then you still did all good things. So it's still win-win.
To an extent, I suppose. Yeah.
I see no downside. So that's my report on that.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
We'll catch you all next time.
Yes. Thank you for listening. We'll be here again next week.